The desperate call. Ambassador Thila stared through the viewport of the Nalthori Council's emergency bunker, watching as another orbital defense platform disintegrated in a blossom of blue-white fire. The Vex Imperium's warships moved with mechanical precision, their black, angular hulls reflecting no light except for the occasional pulse of their weapon systems. Each shot found its mark with devastating accuracy. "Seventh defensive line breached," announced First Captain Nari, her translucent skin pulsing with distress patterns. "Civilian evacuation is only at 38% completion." Thila's secondary heart constricted painfully, and the unified coalition's response. The gathered council members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Admiral Vosa, the most senior military officer still alive, stepped forward. His normally pristine uniform was stained with the silvery blood of his own species. "The unified coalition has declared this a regrettable regional conflict and invoked Article 47 of the Non-Intervention Protocols." Regrettable regional conflict. Elder Mox sputtered, his age-spotted tentacles writhing in outrage. "The Vex are methodically exterminating our entire alliance. 3 worlds already sterilized, billions dead. The coalition fears Vex reprisal," Vosa said flatly. "Their diplomatic communique suggests we seek favorable surrender terms to preserve what remains of our civilization." Thela turned away from the viewport as another explosion lit up the night sky. "Surrender is not an option. The Vex don't accept surrenders. They accept total subjugation followed by resource extraction. We've all seen what happened to the Pelian systems." The room fell silent. Everyone remembered the Pelian tragedy. An advanced civilization reduced to slave labor in their own asteroid belts, mining resources for the Vex until the last Pelian died from radiation poisoning. "There's one option we haven't discussed," said Kiri Modin, the youngest council member, her voice steady despite the tension. All eyes turned to her, and she activated a holographic display. "We send a distress call to Earth." The reaction was immediate and chaotic. "The humans, have you lost your mind? They're barbarians. We'd be trading one conqueror for another." Thela raised all 4 of her arms, calling for silence. "Captain Nari, what is your assessment of our remaining options?" Nari's skin turned a bleak gray. "Without external intervention, complete military defeat within 14 standard cycles. Full planetary occupation within 30. The Vex pattern suggests they will then begin systematic dismantling of our industrial infrastructure, with our population as forced labor." Thela nodded slowly. "And Earth's military capabilities?" "Unknown," Nari admitted. "They withdrew from the Unified Coalition 87 cycles ago after the Proxima incident. Their technology was already concerning then. Intelligence suggests their development has continued at an accelerated pace, particularly in weaponry." "They were animals at the Arcturus peace talks," Elder Mox growled. "Their Admiral Reyes threatened to turn the negotiation table into kindling if the treaty wasn't ratified. And yet," Kiri pointed out quietly, "they did honor every single clause of that treaty. Unlike the Coalition, which has violated 16 provisions of our Mutual Defense Pact in the last 4 days alone." Thela moved to the Central Command console and pulled up an archival image. A human warship, blocky and inelegant compared to the sleek Coalition vessels, bristling with weapon emplacements that made no attempt at concealment. The name emblazoned on its side read HSS Retribution. "The humans have a direct approach to conflict," Thela acknowledged. "But they also have no economic ties to the Vex Imperium. No reason to appease them. They might not even respond," Admiral Vosa said. "No one has had meaningful contact with Earth in nearly a decade. They've become isolationists since the Coalition sanctions." "Perhaps," Thela agreed. "But right now, a slim chance is better than none." She straightened to her full height, her decision made. "Compose an emergency transmission to Earth. Include all tactical data on Vex fleet movements and weapons capabilities. And," she hesitated, "emphasize the civilian casualties. Humans have historically responded to humanitarian appeals. Elder Mox's tentacles twisted in resignation. If they come, and that's a significant if, what makes you think they'll leave afterward? We're inviting conquerors to repel conquerors. Thela watched as another section of the planetary defense grid went dark. If we survive this, we can worry about diplomatic complications later, she said. Send the transmission on all frequencies. Use their old emergency protocols. As the communications officer hurried to comply, Thela returned to the viewport. Beyond the atmosphere, another Nalfori destroyer vanished in atomic fire. A grim smile formed on her face. Besides, she added softly, I studied human history. They don't like bullies. The distress signal pulsed outward, crossing the vast expanse of empty space, separating the besieged Nalfori worlds from the isolated human territory. Days passed with no response. The Vex pressed their advantage, destroying the last organized Nalfori fleet at the Battle of Helios Gate. Refugee ships, packed beyond capacity with civilians, scattered in all directions. Some made it to neutral systems. Most didn't. 7 days after sending the distress call, with the Vex flagship approaching the Nalfori homeworld, Ambassador Thela stood in the council chamber for what she expected would be the final time. Evacuation status, she asked, though she already knew the answer would be insufficient. 53% of the capital's population, Captain Neri reported. The last transports will launch in 3 hours. After that, she didn't finish the sentence. No response from Earth. Thela confirmed, unsurprised. Admiral Vosa shook his head. Nothing. But our long-range sensors detected unusual activity near the old human border outposts. Could be routine exercises. Could be nothing. A junior communications officer burst into the chamber, protocol forgotten in his excitement. Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission. Non-standard encryption. But the signature is, it's human. The chamber erupted in surprised exclamations as the main screen activated. For a moment, there was only static, then the image resolved into the face of a human female. Her dark hair was pulled back severely, highlighting sharp features and eyes that evaluated everything with clinical detachment. The insignia on her uniform was unfamiliar, a stylized black ship silhouetted against stars. This is Admiral Helena Shaw of the Earth Midnight Fleet, she said without preamble. We received your distress call. Calculating from your transmission time, you've got approximately 16 hours before the Vex main force reaches your homeworld. Thela stepped forward. Admiral Shaw, I am Ambassador Thela of the Nalfori Alliance. Shaw cut her off with a raised hand. Ambassador, I've reviewed your tactical data. My task force is currently at jump point 734 in the outer reach. We can have combat elements in your system within 9 hours. Her eyes narrowed. But I need to be absolutely clear about something first. Yes, Admiral. Thela asked, hope rising for the first time in days. If we come, we fight our way. No coalition restrictions, no weapons limitations, no rules of engagement except our own. Shaw's expression remained impassive. Can your people handle that? Elder Mox pushed forward. What exactly does your way entail, human? A cold smile touched Shaw's lips. It means the Vex Imperium will understand what it means to face humanity in combat. It means we don't stop until the threat is eliminated. It means some of what you see may disturb you. Thela exchanged glances with Admiral Vosa, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. We accept your terms. Admiral Shaw, Thela said firmly. The Nalfori Alliance formally requests Earth's military assistance. Understood. Shaw nodded once. 9 hours, Ambassador. Hold until then. The transmission cut off, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Did we just make a deal with devils? Someone whispered. Thela turned to the viewport where the first faint flashes of Vex bombardment were becoming visible in the upper atmosphere. Perhaps, she said quietly, but they're devils coming to fight on our side. The Midnight Fleet. The Vex command ship, Eternal Dominion, maintained position at the edge of the Nulthori system, its massive bulk dwarfing the escort vessels surrounding it. Supreme Commander Xesh stood on the observation deck, his mechanical enhancements humming softly as he processed the conquest data. "Resistance is diminishing at the expected rate," reported his second-in-command. "The remaining Nulthori military assets are concentrated around their homeworld. Our projections indicate total system pacification within 26 standard hours." Xesh nodded, the movement jerky with cybernetic precision. "Acceptable. Prepare the resource extraction protocols. The Nulthori worlds are rich in rare elements we require." "Supreme Commander," interrupted the sensor officer, his voice modulated to convey appropriate deference, "we're detecting unusual energy signatures at the system's edge. Pattern unknown." Xesh turned, irritation flowing through his organic components. "Elaborate." "The signatures appear and disappear. They don't match known Nulthori technology. They don't match any coalition signatures in our database." A desperate last attempt, Xesh decided. "Dispatch scout drones to investigate. Continue the primary assault timeline." The command deck returned to efficient silence, broken only by the occasional status report. The conquest of the Nulthori Alliance was proceeding with mechanical efficiency, exactly as the algorithms had predicted. Until the alarms began. "Multiple contacts," the sensor officer shouted, forgetting appropriate modulation in his shock. "Emerging directly behind our rear guard. Counting 60. No, 80 separate vessels." "Identification," Xesh demanded. "Unknown configuration. They're not broadcasting any recognition codes." The tactical display updated, showing a scattered formation of ships rapidly accelerating toward the Vex fleet. Their designs varied wildly, lacking the uniform precision of Vex engineering. Some were sleek and predatory, while others were blocky and brutalist, bristling with what appeared to be weapons. "Open communications," Xesh ordered. "Inform them that interference in Imperial operations will result in their immediate destruction." The communications officer complied, then looked up in confusion. "They're responding. But it's just an audio signal with an embedded data packet." "Play it," Xesh commanded. A human voice, coldly professional, filled the command deck. "Vex forces, this is Admiral Helena Shaw of the Earth Midnight Fleet. You are engaged in hostilities against a civilization that has requested our protection. You have 30 seconds to begin full withdrawal from this system. This is your only warning." Silence fell across the command deck. Then Xesh began to laugh, a sound made unsettling by his vocal enhancements. "Earth. The isolated barbarians. They dare to challenge the Imperium." He gestured dismissively. "Activate defensive screens. Deploy containment protocols. I want those ships intact enough to study their primitive technology." "Supreme Commander," the tactical officer said hesitantly, "the data packet they sent. It's a targeting solution. For us. For every ship in our formation." 20 seconds remaining, came Shaw's voice again. Xesh turned to the main view screen. "Show me these humans." The screen activated, displaying the approaching Earth vessels. At their center flew a massive warship, unlike anything in Vex records. Its hull was midnight black, absorbing rather than reflecting light, making its true dimensions difficult to discern. What was unmistakable were the weapon emplacements, not concealed as in civilized designs, but prominently displayed, some glowing with building energy. 10 seconds, Shaw announced. "They're bluffing," Xesh decided. "No rational species would." Time expired. Shaw's voice cut in. "Commencing hostilities." What happened next would later be described in the official Vex report as a tactical anomaly. The human ships didn't maneuver into standard combat formation. They didn't establish a defensive perimeter. Instead, they accelerated directly into the Vex fleet's formation, firing as they came. The rear Vex squadron, caught unprepared for such an irrational approach, lost 7 ships in the first exchange. Not disabled. Destroyed. their hulls shattered by weapons that seemed to bypass their advanced shielding entirely. "What are they doing?" gasped the tactical officer. "This is suicide." But it wasn't. Somehow, the human vessels were surviving concentrated Vex fire, their shields flaring but holding as they closed to point-blank range. The tactical display became a chaotic mess as formation discipline collapsed under the unexpected assault. "All ships, maintain position," Sesh ordered. "Focus fire on their command vessel." On the Nalthori homeworld, Ambassador Thela and the remaining council members watched in stunned silence as the orbital battle unfolded on their tracking systems. "I've never seen anything like this," Admiral Vosa whispered. "The Midnight Fleet isn't fighting according to any known tactical doctrine. They're fighting like humans," Thela finished. "Unpredictable, aggressive, terrifying." The tactical display showed the human vessels moving with what looked like reckless abandon, but gradually revealed itself as a complex, fluid strategy. They didn't maintain formation in the traditional sense. Instead, they functioned like a swarm of predators, each ship seemingly independent yet part of a greater whole. "Ambassador," called a communications officer. "Incoming transmission from the human flagship." Admiral Shaw's face appeared on screen, her expression focused but calm despite the battle raging around her ship. "Ambassador Thela, we've engaged the Vex fleet and have them temporarily disoriented. But they have numerical superiority. We need to evacuate your remaining civilian population immediately." "Our evacuation ships are unarmed," Thela explained. "They'd be destroyed trying to break through the Vex blockade." "Not anymore," Shaw replied. "I've dispatched the 7th Interceptor Squadron to provide escort. They'll clear a path for your evacuation fleet in the next 30 minutes. Be ready." The transmission cut off before Thela could respond. "Can they actually do that?" Elder Mox asked incredulously. "Create a safe corridor through a Vex blockade." Admiral Vosa was studying the tactical display, his expression a mixture of awe and professional analysis. "They're not fighting to win," he realized suddenly. "Not yet. They're fighting to distract, drawing the Vex fleet's attention while their faster ships maneuver into position to protect our evacuation routes." Thela felt a surge of hope. "Alert all remaining evacuation transports. They launch as soon as the human squadron arrives." In space, the battle continued to evolve in ways that these are not standard military tactics, Sesh noted. "This precision targeting of subsystems suggests intimate knowledge of our vessel design." "Impossible," his second-in-command objected. "Our ship schematics are encrypted with quantum-level security." A nearby console erupted in sparks as its systems overloaded. "Evidently," Sesh said dryly, "the humans did not find that an insurmountable obstacle." Across the Vex fleet, the pattern repeated. Human boarding teams didn't attempt to hold territory. They destroyed targeting systems, propulsion controls, and power distribution nodes before withdrawing. One by one, Vex warships found themselves adrift, weapons offline, life support systems functioning at minimal capacity. On the Nalthori homeworld, the evacuation proceeded with desperate urgency. The human interceptors maintained a protective corridor through which the civilian transports fled to safety. Ambassador Thela coordinated the effort from the Planetary Command Center, where Admiral Vosa monitored the ongoing space battle with growing astonishment. "The humans are systematically neutralizing the Vex fleet without destroying it," he observed. "I've never seen such tactics." "Is that significant?" Thela asked, directing another group of refugees to the waiting transports. "Extremely. The Vex rely on their reputation for invincibility. No one has ever successfully boarded their vessels, let alone disabled them en masse." Vosa's expression was one of professional appreciation. "The humans aren't just defeating the Vex, they're humiliating them." A communications officer interrupted. "Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from the surface of Nellis II." "Nellis II?" Thela repeated in confusion. That colony fell to the Vex 3 days ago. The main screen activated, showing the face of a human male. Unlike Admiral Shaw's pristine appearance, this human was clearly in a combat environment. His face was streaked with dirt and what might have been blood, and occasional flashes of weapons fire illuminated the background. "This is Colonel Marcus Chen, Earth Midnight Fleet, Marine Detachment Alpha," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "We've established a beachhead on Nellis II and are engaging Vex ground forces." Thela exchanged shocked glances with Admiral Vosa. "Colonel, Nellis II is occupied by a full Vex mechanized division. How did you even land forces?" Chen's grim smile was briefly visible. "We dropped in." "Literally." "Dropped?" Vosa repeated. "Orbital insertion pods," Chen explained, as if this were perfectly normal. "My company deployed from low orbit directly into the Vex command center." Thela struggled to comprehend this, but the atmospheric entry alone mulled. "Ambassador," Chen interrupted gently, "with respect, we don't have time for a technical briefing. My troops are currently liberating Nelfori civilians from Vex processing centers. We need medical support and evacuation capabilities as soon as possible." Yes, of course," Thela stammered. "We'll divert medical ships immediately." "Appreciated." Chen out. As the transmission ended, the command center fell silent. "They're retaking our colonies," Elder Mox said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "Not just protecting our homeworld. They're actually driving the Vex back." In orbit, the battle had evolved yet again. With nearly half the Vex fleet disabled by boarding actions, Admiral Shaw's vessels regrouped and began a more conventional assault on the remaining enemy ships. The human weapons demonstrated capabilities that shocked even the cybernetically enhanced Vex commanders. Missiles phased through shields designed to repel physical objects. Energy weapons operated on frequencies that resonated destructively with Vex power systems. Most disturbing of all were the devices the humans called dimensional charges, weapons that didn't so much destroy their targets as remove sections of them from normal spacetime. On the Vex command ship, Supreme Commander Xesh made a decision unprecedented in the Imperium's conquests. "We must withdraw and reassess," he announced. "These humans employ technologies that require further study. We cannot effectively counter what we do not understand." His second-in-command cybernetic eyes widened. "Withdraw. The Imperium has never retreated." "Then we will not call it a retreat," Sesh replied coldly. "We will call it a strategic redeployment. Signal all operational vessels to disengage and rendezvous at Contingency Point Epsilon." As the Vex fleet began its withdrawal, Admiral Shaw allowed them to go, but not without cost. The human vessels harried the retreating Vex, disabling engines on some, destroying weapons on others, ensuring that even those ships that escaped did so damaged and humiliated. On the Nelfori homeworld, the mood shifted from desperate survival to cautious hope. The evacuation continued, but now it was joined by reports from colonies being liberated by human. Shaw inclined her head in acknowledgement. "Of course, Ambassador. My apologies. The fact remains," Trell continued, "that Earth has deployed military forces of significant capability without proper authorization or oversight." "Authorization?" Elder Mox scoffed, his tentacles coiling in agitation. "They were invited by the legitimate government of a sovereign alliance under attack. The only authorization they needed was ours." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Thela raised her 4 hands for quiet. "What's done is done. Earth came to our aid when no one else would. The question before us now is, what happens next?" Admiral Shaw stood, and the chamber fell silent. She moved to the central display and activated a holographic projection showing the current disposition of forces across the sector. "The Vex Imperium has withdrawn to these defensive positions," she explained, highlighting several star systems. "They've consolidated their remaining fleet elements and are rebuilding. Our intelligence suggests they're analyzing the weapons and tactics we used against them." developing countermeasures. You believe they'll attack again? Asked one of the colonial representatives. I know they will, Shaw replied with absolute certainty. The Vex don't abandon conquests. They merely postpone them. Right now, they're gathering information, adapting their strategies, and preparing for a renewed offensive. Which brings us to Earth's proposal, Phyllis said, nodding for Shaw to continue. The Admiral changed the holographic display to show a different configuration of systems. We propose a joint defensive initiative. Earth will provide military assets, training, and technology to secure the borders of Nalfori space. In return, we ask for basing rights in these systems and open trade relations. This sounds suspiciously like a military alliance, Ambassador Trell objected. The coalition cannot endorse. With all due respect, Ambassador, Thela interrupted firmly, the coalition's endorsement wasn't requested. This is a sovereign matter for the Nalfori alliance. Shaw continued as if the interruption hadn't occurred. Our goal isn't permanent military presence. It's technology transfer and training. The Nalfori alliance must be able to defend itself in the long term. Admiral Vosa leaned forward with interest. You would share your military technology with us. Selected technologies, yes, Shaw confirmed. Earth believes in self-determination. We don't want client states. We want capable allies. The chamber erupted in discussion, with representatives debating among themselves. The coalition observers conferred urgently, clearly alarmed by this development. Thela allowed the debates to continue for several minutes before calling for order. I believe we need to consider Earth's proposal carefully. Admiral Shaw, how long would this partnership last? Until the Vex threat is neutralized, Shaw replied. Not just pushed back, neutralized. Which brings me to the second phase of our proposal. The holographic display changed again, this time showing the heart of Vex territory. Earth intends to launch an offensive operation against the Vex homeworlds, Shaw stated matter-of-factly. Not for conquest, but to dismantle their capacity for further aggression. A shocked silence fell over the chamber. That's unprecedented, Admiral Vosa finally said. No one has ever launched a counteroffensive against the Vex. Their core systems are heavily defended. Yes, Shaw agreed, which is why we're inviting the Nalfori Alliance to join us, not just as beneficiaries of our protection, but as active partners in ensuring regional security. Ambassador Trell rose again, visibly agitated. This is exactly why the coalition implemented restrictions on human military activities. You're proposing an interstellar war. Shaw turned to face the coalition representative directly. No, Ambassador. I'm proposing we finish a war the Vex started. There's a difference. This approach goes against everything the coalition stands for, Trell insisted. Diplomacy, negotiation, peaceful resolution. The Vex eliminated 3 Nalfori worlds, Shaw said quietly. Completely sterilized. Billions of lives extinguished. What diplomatic solution would you propose for that?